Hello, everybody, and welcome to podcast number 132 of the Gordon and Cherise Show. And we're so happy to be back with you in this new set. But frankly, we're going to just kind of say that everything that we've built up until this point for our podcast, they've all been in one light or one voice, where it's been about things where, Gordon, you've walked through an incredible road for 30 years of overcoming pain.
That's right.
And now, very raw, and this is still in process for us, the script has been flipped.
And so that's today's title.
The title is My Unexpected Cancer Diagnosis.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So you have a very personal story to share. So we're not going to try to format it, index it, come up with perfect solutions. We have great ideas, and behind the scenes, we have spent time going through different processes. Why don't you go ahead and share your story and share what you're going through, because I think it's going to touch a lot of people's lives.
And Gordon, you're a part of that story.
Yeah, I know
You're a part of that. You've walked every step of this with me. And even though we process some of the story a little bit differently, we're still one. We're perfectly one, as we also have a couple of different filters going at this time.
That's true.
And I could not process what I'm going through without your filter right now. But I have my own too. And so I want to just take it raw and say, let's just talk about it. And it takes a lot to say. I want to open up to the audience, because it's just, again, this hasn't even been made public on Facebook or anywhere else. We've had a group of people that have known, that are kind of in our tribe and close. But if you haven't been told, and you are somebody that's connected in our life in a personal way, I'm sorry, we haven't had a chance to catch up to talk to everybody about it. I just want to thank our community. I want to thank everybody that's been listening to our podcast. I want to thank everybody that's a part of this. And then now it's time to unpack what's going on.
So let's go ahead and begin, Cherise.
I think I'm deflecting. All right. So we were in Florida, and it was April 24th. I believe that was the day. And we were visiting with your parents on a trip. Your dad's in his 90s, mid-90s. And I get a call in a restaurant, first watch. And I was not expecting the call. But it was the clinic that they had done a biopsy on me. And the woman that called said, "You have cancer." I mean, it was basically like, there was no intro to that. It was, "We have news, and you have cancer." And I thought, how is this even possible? My granddaughter, we were in Australia this winter, and it was at the very end of December, and she was looking at my swimsuit. She could see a little mole like through my swimsuit, and she didn't like it. She's like her granddaddy. When things don't belong somewhere, that she wants them to be picked off or clean. And she has this organized mind, and she wanted that mole off of me. She tried to pick it off, and it's been there. And honestly, frankly, and very rawly, I've done nothing about it. I never got it looked at. I didn't think anything about it. I've had my life consumed with a lot of other things, a lot of caregiving, not with you, but with other family members, and a lot of work, and just prioritizing myself last. So I didn't get it looked at. But when she noticed it, it got my attention. And then I honestly didn't think about it for another couple of months. And then I went to get another doctor and a hormone injection. And he saw this growth on my backside. It was on my left cheek, of all places. And he said, "If you don't get that looked at, I'm going to be very upset with you. You need to go now." And so I thought, okay, I'm going to trust that. And I went and luckily got into a dermatologist very quickly. And as soon as I saw the dermatologist, he said, I am sure that that's melanoma cancer. And I thought, well, my family, there's no family history of cancer. There's no way that this could exist. I'm sure that it's just a weird mole. It'll be okay. I dismissed it. I blew it off. I even joked around with the doctor, and he was like, no, I've been in this practice. I've seen this a lot, and I believe it is, but we're going to send it off to pathology and we'll let you know. So going back to that April 24th call, that's the call. You do have it. And you met me outside of that restaurant, and I was just shattered. I didn't even know. I was kind of in fight or flight, but I was also just my world just changed in 1 second. Like, I'm out of my body. It was an out of body experience. Like, there is no way this body is dealing with that. So how did it affect you at that moment?
I wish it would have been me, because I would have looked at cancer and said, who cares? I'm going to beat it up. But when it hits you, it obviously hurt me to the core. But the first response was to grab you and hold you and let you know that I loved you. And probably my secondary response was to realize that God is the one that's in control, and it's his battle to fight. So how are we going to be obedient to all of our thoughts and put them captive to Christ and move forward in transformation and victory? But I was very, very stunned, and I felt very bad for you.
And you immediately, though, went into a hopeful way of thinking.
Absolutely.
And Gordon, that comes from 30 years of experience in your own life. And you know what it takes to make it through really dark seasons.
Absolutely.
So it meant a lot to see the courage, even in the pain. I could see the pain in you. Like, this is a pain I've never seen in you before, was the pain of the thought that I could be gone before you could be, or the thought that you could lose me. That was overwhelming pain. And the hopelessness, like the feeling of, what if this actually did happen? And this is Gordon and Cherise. It's the Gordon and Cherise show. How can we be apart? How could this happen right in the middle of the trajectory of life, opening up the platform that we've had and all of the other things that are happening? How could this happen now? Those are things that I was thinking. And the very first thought I had is, what about my mom? And it wasn't that my mom is over everybody else. It's just that we've been in a season where she's needed our care more. And I thought, if something happens to me, what happens to her? And it just, the flood of the people that I love and that I care for in my life, the overwhelming thought of, what if I can't do this? It came before I even could catch wind that I need the care right now. Like, that's so humbling.
Right.
When you go, I have to relinquish the control and I need the care. So that's kind of the beginning moments of this.
And my beginning moments are slightly different. And
I appreciate that.
Yes. And my reaction was, this is spiritual warfare. And when we glorify God, we make him sovereign over every part of our lives. And we both knew immediately that this was also building a testimony in you.
A new one, an unexpected one.
An unexpected one.
Yeah.
And I felt the heavy dose, but I also knew it was spiritual warfare.
Right.
And I knew everything else will be taken care of. I knew we could still get through all the minute details of life and systems and hospital visits and doctors and what you would have to go through. But my first thought is we need to stand firm in our faith. And I definitely vocalized it a few different times. And I wanted to make you realize how much I love you and how important you are, and that you had total freedom in your choices.
You said that from the beginning.
And that I was going to help you get to that point where you could make decisions.
And that's true love, is to set somebody free, to give them the choice
right
in the middle of this, because you could have latched onto me and said, I demand that you do these things. And yet you said,
when have I ever gotten away with that?
Well, you wouldn't with me, but you could have tried. I mean, it could have been the one opportunity you might have succeeded.
I don't think so.
But I was feeling so vulnerable.
So let's continue with the story.
Yes. Okay. So, and let me explain this, because
please.
I think a lot of people, I've learned this. I didn't ever think about melanoma cancer very much in my life. It wasn't anything that I thought was a big deal. Or I thought, okay, they can remove a mole. It's nothing. It's just no big deal. It's just something that's easily done. I didn't realize it's the number one killer of cancer. And the number one cancer killer. It's a very tricky little cancer, because your body doesn't distinguish the cells. It doesn't understand that there's a cancer because it doesn't see it, because I guess certain proteins, or I don't know the scientific, you know the scientific part better than I do, but it's hiding. It's like a backdoor cancer. It hides. It doesn't let your body know it's sick, that it's got a tumor, that it's got something. And where I was in the growth of this tumor, it was beyond just going to the dermatologist and removing a mole. I then had to enter into a full operation, and where there was a cancer the size on the outside of like a dime, it became a 6-inch incision on it's like a cheekectomy, my left butt cheek. They took out all the tissue down to the muscle within a 6-inch parameter there. And they also had to look, because the lymph nodes that area drained to were in the front groin area. And there were two lymph nodes that they had to remove. And one of them, unfortunately, had cancer in the lymph node. So it spread beyond the tumor, and that's a metastasized cancer. So that's scary. It becomes a stage 3. They said stage 3B. That's changed from stage 3B to 3A through more diagnosis, but whatever. It's in the stage 3 realm, which means the metastasized realm, and that it could spread, and even more beyond that.
Well, let me ask you questions about your story.
Yeah.
So when you find out stage 3 metastatic cancer, what do you feel?
The funny thing is, physically, I felt nothing except the pain, obviously, after surgery, but the physical thing wasn't there. That's why cancer is so weird. I mean, I guess a lot of times you just don't feel it.
How did your soul feel?
My soul went into fight or flight. It felt like I could not get gravity for a while.
Right. I noticed things. You were dropping things more.
I still am.
You still are. More chaotic.
Forgetting
things.
Not sleeping.
Having moments of great strength, and then having moments of great weakness.
That's right.
So you've gone through this up and down process, like I think a lot of people go through.
Absolutely.
But it's all happened so quickly.
Yeah. I mean, so back to that day that I was told, we were in Florida, as I mentioned.
Right.
The very next day, related to our platform, we were on our way to Destin, Florida.
That's right.
To connect with a group of doctors, a small group, very tiny group of us, that were going to meet at a kind of a sweet retreat time, not about any of like the cancer stuff, but we happened to be with a functional medicine chiropractic doctor who specializes in cancer.
That's right.
The next day, it's like God delivered me into the presence of people who were already ahead of me. They were right there. And Dr. Terry Harmon has read about 50,000 labs. And we weren't meeting with him related to his work or related to my cancer. It had nothing to do. I had no idea going into that retreat time that I would have anything wrong. But we were there, and that story just, it's amazing in the moments. Like I see all these ways, like I'm caught in the grace of God, even through the fight or flight, even through the trauma of the news.
So through the trauma of the news, you saw the perspective that there was a divine appointment.
Totally.
Meeting with the doctor.
Totally.
We also had a divine appointment catching up with old friends.
Yeah.
Who offered a lot of comfort.
I mean, just more love. Like
Right.
I can't believe how the diagnosis has affected the people that I love so much. First of all, you.
And even the doctors were calling you.
Yeah. They were calling me.
Sharing great affections for you as a patient, as a friend.
One of them said they loved me. Yeah, that was kind of weird.
I felt that was different.
No, it was great. I love that doctor too, but not the way that I love you.
Yeah, I love that, Cherise.
But and then coming home, the reality of I immediately have to go into surgery from that trip, and the fact that we had a friend that knew a surgeon, the top surgeon in the city, who called the oncologist surgeon over the weekend. And then I get fit into a schedule where normally it would be a month or 6 weeks or more out.
How about months?
Like we're talking that week I got in, and he operated on me on his off hours.
That's correct.
So I see all these divine grace moments in a terrible state that I was in. And then the recovery part, which I'm in now, again, I'm flooded with a lot of prayers and grace. You did something that really was precious and helped, because I tend to go inward. I haven't even announced this. This is going to be the first public announcement of the news of this. It hasn't gone all over Facebook yet, or we've let people that we know, and it, again, not everybody that we know, but as they've come to mind, we've asked, Gordon, you set this up. Why don't you share what you did?
Well, there's two parts. Mm-hmm. We're not boasting about the fact that you have cancer. There was a part of, let's keep this private. Let's not go all over social media. Let's not even share it with the Better Living community. We're not ready to.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, who are our real friends that we know are going to pray? So we actually did a podcast on spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
And to let people know on that podcast, we actually I communicated with the friends about your condition and hear what our needs are. Mm-hmm. And here's how I'd like you to pray with the verses that we're praying with in Scripture. Mm-hmm. So we took a very strategic and collaborative approach to deal with prayer and standing firm in our faith and having a strong mental resolve to get through this.
And I had to tear some barriers down in my life, because I don't do well with, I don't want the pity.
Right.
I don't want, oh, I'm so sorry for you. It's like I tend to just wall up, and I want to be in the back of this. I don't want people to feel sorry for me, and I don't want to reach out and beg for prayer. I don't want that, because it feels awkward. And at the same time, Gordon, if you had not encouraged just a few key people to come enter the story with us,
quite a few people,
I would not be as far along, because the love has overwhelmed my heart.
That's right.
It has been like a covering. It's like a blanket on a freezing cold day. The love has been real, it's affectionate, and it's reciprocal, because I love each one of you. Mm-hmm. And I can't thank you enough for the care, the prayers, and the fact that that people that have prayed, you've met me where I'm at. And I feel a lack of judgment, but a lot of support.
Well, you had that central message, honey. You're not alone.
Yeah. And pain in general. And then cancer, it can make you feel in 1 second that you're all by yourself.
Absolutely. It's full of fear. That's what fear does.
Yeah.
But going on with the story, here you are, you get the diagnosis, you undergo treatment, you have different procedures performed. Tell me what that journey's like after you have surgery.
Oh, well, first of all, I'm sure that people who have had breast cancer or other cancers where some sizable part of them has changed, or they've completely changed their body structure. Like, I've never faced the feeling of what will I be like after this? Like, what happens after that much of my cheek is out? How do I sit? What's going to happen? How do I look? Can I ever wear a bathing suit again? I mean, I know that sounds vain, but I love being in the water. I love the sun. I love the ocean. And I love you. And I love watching you at the water with me. And so the journey of the surgery, actually the surgery went extremely well, better than I could have expected. The outcome physically has been very well. Like, it was okay. Within 3 weeks, we were in Costa Rica, and I was able to I didn't gallop or anything, but I got on a horse. It's very healing for me. And just to sit on the horse with going, okay, I can do this. It's different, but I can do it. I have pushed my body a little bit to get back into walking in a very soft jog, a little bit. Like, I've been in a lot of pain, but that pain has given way to now recovery, more recovery. We had our sweet Costa Rican experience with this woman that we love that gives me a massage on the beach in Costa Rica. They're Nicaraguans, and they set up this like plastic tent, and for a very nominal American price, they give more service than you can imagine. And she saw my incision. You showed it to her.
I did.
She started bawling. We had a cry fest. And you asked her to work on my scar tissue. Mm-hmm. So she was working on it, and she was crying. Then I started crying, and then you started crying, and then her daughter started crying. And so that's where I'm at. I'm still healing from the surgery.
Well, let's talk about those tears.
Yeah.
Okay. She got to process the fact that a good friend who comes from America goes to her for massages now for a few years in a row. And she was processing the fact that she loves your friendship, and she hated to see what was happening. Your tears were different, as well as mine. My tears were, I know once your scars are touched, I had tears of healing. You're going to be okay. And I think you had a little bit of that in you, didn't you?
I think for me, Gordon, it was to be vulnerable enough to allow myself to be touched. Like,
that's huge.
I build walls sometimes, and I don't mean to. It's hard for me to reach out.
Right.
I've been the one that's caretaken. I've been the one that tries to come up with the answers and drives you batty because I'm trying to fix you at times, or trying to fix other people that I love, right? I am being delivered of my own fixedness, and I can't fix me right now. And I have to just let it out. It's time to let it out.
Yeah.
It's time to let go.
Yeah.
It's time to stop clenching life with my fists. And it's time to just take the hands of the people around us in love in a different way. That's what I was experiencing in that tent. I have to let go.
Yeah.
And I have to trust other people are with me in this healing journey.
Right.
We can't do it alone.
Well, that experience was part of a process. And related to the story that we have, that you have, that's so vulnerable right now, even with the audience. I see the fact that time that you were getting the massages, where there was a realization that you don't have to carry shame. you have change.
Yeah, I get to experience a different body.
A different body.
Yeah, you're right.
So as you're moving forward in the process, what's it like for you?
I'm still trying to put the pieces together. I don't have all the answers right now.
That's a great place to be.
Yeah. But one thing, I guess it was yesterday, that hit me hard, really hard. Because now it's not about, is the cancer gone? The tumor's removed, the lymph nodes are removed. So by all PET scan and brain scans and everything else, right now, it shows that it's clear, which is great news. But melanoma is tricky and it can be undetectable for a long time. And so I'm left with the decision, do I do immunotherapy or do I just do natural and not do any of the immunotherapy? Do I just change my diet, do functional medicine and not deal with it? I have so many voices flying around, including the own voices in my head. Well, not multiple voices, but the voice in my head of asking the question, what should I do? And for me, I think I'm getting delivered of that question as I ask it, because that question is just a loop. And I've felt very convicted the other day. And part of that was some encouragement by a spiritual sage. He's incredible doctor, psychologist. He just sent me a couple of email lines one day, just that he was praying for me, but maybe, ask a better question than I was asking. And the question that this has come to is, God, what do you want me to do with this holy temple, the temple that you've created? And if I'm harboring all of you, that you've chosen to dwell in me, in this temple, what can I do to glorify you with this? What can I do in this moment to let go of all of this control and all of the answers that I keep pursuing outside of just being with you? And the fact that you already are ahead of this and you have the answers, but I surrender. Surrender is the word. Surrender. It's constant. I have to do it maybe 50 times consciously a day, surrendering into the control over this and allowing God to be God over me. It's his body. He gave it to me. Yes, he allows me to make decisions, but I want to glorify him through those decisions.
Mm-hmm. So the word for you is surrender in this process right now.
Right now.
From your perspective.
Yeah.
From my eyes, the word is trust. Because you're given so many options on what to do next, and you're researching every option, and your analytical brain is going crazy, and we know that only 5% of our brain power is the analytical side, and 95% is subconscious.
Yep.
This is an opportunity of trust.
That's right.
Which decision do you trust? Who do you trust? And you're going to discover who you are more so in the process. But I know it's tough. I know you got a lot of things spinning, but things spin out of control more. It's because we don't trust. We don't trust the path.
And I'm going back to some very core roots of my walk, my spiritual walk right now. Mm. Is that any act done outside of faith doesn't work anyway.
That's right.
So I'm not sure that God cares as much about the perfect remedy as much as being reminded that he is my remedy, and that any decision going forward, if it's done in faith, and I'm not saying faith in the medicine as much as doing it out of an obedient and faithful heart towards God. God has created doctors. He's created medicine. I'm not anti-medicine, but I'm also for the natural remedies. I have both. I think that's what's so hard. I'm a tweener inside of me. I believe that they both apply. But I think getting to that core where I hear what God wants and the stewardship over my body that he's given me the right to have. And then to make a decision out of faith and not to doubt. I'm in that place and I have not fully arrived. I will confess that. I am right in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm. That's okay.
But I just, I'm so grateful for where I am today and the strength to even do this podcast and to share a little bit. And the only reason why I feel that it's time to share is because somebody else is going through something as well. And I don't want you to feel alone in what you're going through.
That's right.
I want you to be encouraged with the same comfort that I'm being encouraged with. And the fact that we're on a journey of life together. That's what this life is.
That's very good. Anything else you'd like to say as you've shared your story? I think we're getting close to a wrap-up time, and we're going to continue your story, but we're going to continue by also sharing the lessons that we're learning fresh and new, even through this process.
Totally.
This is not a standardized platform to create the perfect response to someone who gets cancer. This is more about sharing a story because other people have more experience with cancer than you do, obviously.
That's right. And
we all can learn from each other's journey. I'd actually like to hear back from people after this podcast to see what they've been through.
You know, that's the thing. And some of my closest friends have had extreme battles with cancer.
Oh boy.
Things that I haven't walked through yet. And they have successfully gone through the fire.
Yes, they have.
And I am so grateful for those who have gone before me that have shown me that they're against all hope. We can have hope.
That's right.
And that is where I'm at now, is to maintain the hope. I'm in the second battle. Many of you have had your first battle. Like taking out a tumor is the first battle. But the second battle is to keep the body away from it ever reoccurring, because that reoccurrence could be potentially stage 4 fatal. Mm-hmm. And so it's the second battle is here. And in a way, we all fight second battles of life. So I would just say, listen to our last podcast before this about spiritual warfare. I mean, to me, that's the source of the battle.
Absolutely.
And then start asking yourself the right questions that bring life and grace to you, questions about what God wants you to do with your precious life, your precious body. I'm in that time of questioning myself.
That's right. Thank you for sharing. I love you, and we're going to get through this.
I love you too.
And we can also have some fun.
Yeah.
And
pickleball. We're still playing pickleball.
We're playing some pickleball. We can still be significant contributors in the workplace and with our family. And I'm proud of you. And we'll just keep going. Let's walk towards the freedom that's given to us.
That's right. Thank you so much for also coming alongside of us and being on this journey. And we'll catch you next time. We'll see how things are going on the next podcast show.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you.